Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Present, color.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Revere's Ride by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend, if the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light. What if I land and two if I see, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk to be up and to arm.
Then he said, good night, and with a muffled oar silently rowed to the Charlestown shore, just as the moon rose over the bay where swinging wide at her moorings lay the Somerset British man-of-war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, and a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms and the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbed the tower of the Old North Church by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead, and startled the pigeons from their perch on the somber rafters that round him made masses and moving shapes of shade. By the trembling ladder steep and tall to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to listen and look down, a moment on the roofs of the town, and the moonlight flowing over all. Beneath in the churchyard lay the dead in their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so steep and still that he could hear like a sentinel's thread the watchful night wind as it went, creeping along from tent to tent and seeming to whisper, all is well. A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay, a line of black that bends and floats on the rising tide like a bridge of boats.
Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse's side, now gazed at the landscape far and near, then impetuous stamped the earth, and turned and tightened his saddle's girth. But mostly he watched, with eager search, the belfry tower of the Old North Church, as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and somber and still. And lo, as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer, and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes till full on his sight. A second lamp in the belfry burns. A hurry of hoofs in a village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath, from the pebbles in passing, a spark. Struck out by the steed, flying fearless and fleet, that was all. Yet though the gloom and the light, the fate of the nation was riding that night, and the spark struck out by that steed and his flight, kindled the land into the flame with its heat. He has left the village and mounted the steed, and beneath him, tranquil and broad and deep, is the mystic meeting the ocean tides, and under the alders that skirts its edge. Now soft on the sand, now loud on the ledge, it hears the tramp of his steed as he rides. It was 12 by the village clock when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and the barking of the farmer's dog, and felt the damp of the river's fog that rises after the sun goes down. It was won by the village clock. When he galloped into Lexington, he saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed, and the meeting house windows, blank and bare, gaze at him with a spectral glare, as if they already stood aghast at the bloody work they would look upon. It was 2 by the village clock when he came to the bridge in Concord town. He heard the beating of the flock and the twitter of the birds amongst the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze blowing over the meadows brown. And one was safe and asleep in his bed, who at the bridge would be first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball.
You know the rest. In the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the fields to emerge again, under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went his cry of alarm to every Middlesex village and farm, a cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the darkness, a knock at the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore. For born on the night wind of the past, through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness and peril and need, the people will waken and listen to hear the hurrying hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere.
National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, proclamation of the 250th anniversary of the battles at Lexington and Concord. Whereas we are gathered here to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the events that set our nation on the path to independence. And whereas on the evening of April 18, 1775, a plan was formed to hang lanterns at the steeple of Old North Church to signal the impending arrival of redcoat soldiers, one if by land and two if by sea. And whereas these 2 lanterns were force behind the now famous midnight ride of Paul Revere to learn that the British were coming, and led to the battles of Lexington and Concord, and ignited the American Revolution. Whereas the Sons of the American Revolution, organized in 1889 and federally chartered in 1906, are honored to participate in these events which commemorate bravery and sacrifice made by our patriot ancestors. Whereas the mission of the Sons of the American Revolution is to promote patriotism and educate future generations about the founding principles of our country. And whereas it is my honor as the President General to sponsor and represent National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution at this commemorative event, one of the many celebrations leading up to the semi-quincentennial on July 4th, 2026. Now therefore, I, Darrell S. Addington, President General of the National Society Sons of the American Revolution, encourage all citizens, patriotic, community, and veterans organizations recognize and commemorate the shot heard around the world, the first military engagement of the American Revolution at Lexington and Concord, and present this proclamation with gratitude to all those who worked to organize the event. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and affix the seal of the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution in Boston, Suffolk County, Massachusetts, this 18th day of April, 2025.
Yes, my name is Joe Kahn. I'm the current president of the Arlington NSDAR chapter. And we thank everybody for coming out today to have this celebration of Lexington and Concord and the beginning of our 250th birthday of our nation.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Rowe Uhas. I'm Regent of National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, Quanah Parker Chapter, Mansfield. And today we're going to discuss the stones for the Never Forget Garden in honor of the American Revolutionary soldiers. We reached out to a stone company and they let us select this beautiful stone. And then they connected us with a monument company and they picked the stone up, they engraved it, they delivered it, and the garden club planted the plants, the lovely flowers. This rose bush here is the Never Forget rose bush, and this rose bush over here is the Never Forget rose bush, and then these are just some other little flowers to add to the beauty of the stone.
Hi, I'm Dan Hamilton. I am the Northern Command Adjutant for Sons of the American Revolution Color Guard. And Kimberly reached out to me and said, hey, listen, we're going to be placing a Never Forget garden stone. Would you be able to furnish a color guard unit to post colors for us? And I said, we would be delighted to do that. So we worked out all the details of when and where and put together a unit, came out here and posted colors and took part in the dedication of this absolutely beautiful stone commemorating not only Revolutionary War soldiers, but all of those that have helped protect our liberties.
And what date did that take place?
March 29.
March 29,
2025.
2025.